to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine Moyer and this is Moyer Makes. And today we're going to be talking about something that's a little bit different. Today we're talking about what to consider, or what I like to consider when I'm getting ready to start a new project and what fibers I want to use. And just kind of like considering fiber choices in different things such as, just fiber choices, like what to consider. Okay, so fiber comes in a lot of different, it's a spectrum. Fiber is a spectrum. You have natural fibers to artificial fibers. You can go plant-based versus animal-based fiber. Anything from bamboo and cotton to alpaca and sheep's wool to nylon, polyester, and acrylic. There's lots of in between actually. And so it can make it very daunting when deciding what fiber you want to use for your first or your next or any project really. It's something I struggle with a lot, is deciding what fibers I want to use in my projects. I have tons of scraps because I like to go to the thrift store and get old yarn. So I have tons of like acrylic, and honestly this blanket is like an amalgamation of all of my different scraps. So it's got acrylic, it's got wool, it's got polyester, it's got nylon, it's got everything in this blanket project. It's going to be a very warm, very large blanket, and it's just so there's that. Like, there's no right way to go about choosing your fiber, and honestly there's no rules. That's the best part about creating. There is no rules saying you must use wool or you must use cotton or you have to use acrylics. You can make up your own opinions and use your own mind to decide how you want the things that you make to look, to feel, and to like their use really. There are some like guidelines, like you shouldn't make anything that's supposed to go near a heat source out of acrylic or an other artificial fiber, because those will melt, right? If you think about it, I have a little brother who's a welder, and one of their rules is they cannot wear they have to wear 100% cotton, or at least it's recommended that they wear 100% cotton, because if they catch on fire, cotton burns away. It's not going to melt onto you like it would with polyester or nylon or acrylic. Like those kinds of fibers, because they're plastic, they're petroleum-based fibers, they will melt. So don't make pot holders out of acrylic, is really what I'm trying to say here. And maybe don't make like children's pajama sets out of acrylic as well, because they have to meet certain fire safety standards. That doesn't mean that acrylic is bad. Acrylic is great. Sorry about any kind of jump cuts or anything like that. My puppy needed to go outside. But like I was saying, acrylic should not really be used near things that require heat or could potentially melt the fibers to anything. But what it can be used for is literally everything else. Acrylic is really what a lot of people use to get started, because acrylic is rather cheap and easy to get a hold of. There are some environmental concerns with acrylic, if that's something you're concerned about. Purchasing new acrylic takes a lot out of the environment. It's a very lengthy process. Basically anything that's petroleum based is going to be kind of difficult with the environment, and if that's something you want to consider or you care about, by all means, like, go for more plant-based fibers, go for more animal-based fibers. But I really don't see why anybody should make anybody else feel guilty for using the fiber that is accessible to them. This blanket is like 90% acrylic. Another thing to consider is when knitting garments or crocheting garments with acrylic is a lot easier for care, as far as like garment care. So it's a lot easier to just throw it in the wash and throw it in the dryer, like that kind of thing. Once you block it, like steam block it, those fibers are locked in, because this process of blocking acrylic, you're actually melting the fiber so that it stays in the shape that you block it in, which is really helpful. So like when you go throw your acrylic sweater or your polyester sweater in the wash, whoever you gave that sweater to doesn't have to worry about re-blocking it or something like that. That's why I chose the fiber for these sweaters. These are the flax sweaters, knit in Lion brand respun polyester. It's a recycled polyester yarn. So they recycle old polyester byproducts or products and spin it into a new yarn, and then they dye it and everything. And this is in the color Alpine. And this is the Tin Can Knits Flax Sweater. I love these sweaters. I'm knitting them as gifts for my family. And something I really had to consider is I have a family full of blue-collar workers. And we're messy people. We wear our things into the dirt, and we don't really want to have to worry about re-blocking a sweater every time we wear it, because we have to wash it afterwards. So I chose a fiber that I knew that once I blocked it, it was kind of like permanently set in that size, so they don't have to worry about accidentally shrinking it. I'm sure somebody will figure out how to accidentally shrink this sweater. But that's the other good thing, is that acrylic fibers and polyester fibers are cheap. This was like an $18 sweater for me to knit. Of course, that's not paying myself an hourly wage or anything. That's just based off of just the amount of yarn I had to buy for this sweater and the price that I had to pay for that yarn. Totaled out to $18 for just one sweater, which isn't bad at all, price-wise. So that's a really good point for acrylic, is that acrylic is really cheap, and other artificial fibers are really cheap, and it's a really good way to get yourself into the craft kind of to start out. So it's really good to like have those things to consider. Something I will say, this kind of like another con for acrylic, is it's a lot more difficult to get good color work out of it, because it doesn't really blend out as much as, like, it doesn't have what's called a halo, which is what wools and other fibers have. That makes it a little bit better for color work, but that's really like one of the few negatives of acrylic. And of course there are acrylic wool blends like this. I believe this is a Lion brand mandala cake or a Karen cake. I don't really know. I lost the label a long time ago, but it is a acrylic wool blend. And it's got a really nice halo to it. It's got this really nice oil slick texture. I love this yarn. I need to make something from it badly. So you can get wool acrylic blends to kind of like start your journey into this more natural fiber way, if that's something that you'd like to do. Again, you don't have to. That's the beautiful thing about this craft, is there's no rules. You also have like plant-based fibers like cotton. So this is Peaches and Cream cotton. It's the Walmart version of Lily Sugar and Cream. They're the same cotton, just different brands sold at different places. So like this entire 400 gram cone was about $8 or $10 roughly, depending on the color. And this is a natural plant-based fiber. It's cotton. It's really breathable. It's great for summer projects. Washcloths, scrubbers, anything like that. I made a baby blanket out of this for the summertime, and just as a layering piece, and it's really easy to clean. You don't have to reblock it every time you wash it. The one issue with cotton really is that it can feel scratchy depending on the brand. A lot of people don't like this brand because it feels scratchy to them. It doesn't feel scratchy to me, but everybody has different levels of skin sensitivity to kind of consider, so that's a big thing for you to consider when you're figuring out what kind of yarns you want to work with, is really just feeling it. Yarn shopping is a tactile sport. You have to be able to feel the yarn that you're about to purchase, because if you order it online and you don't like the way that it feels, you're stuck with it, right? I mean, you can return it, but if you're shipping it to somewhere like Alaska, like where I'm at, for example, you learn really quickly to just deal with it. Because if you order something and you don't like it, they're not gonna want you to return it. So I like to go at least buy my first batch from a brand in person so that I can feel how it feels against my hands, if I'm going to hate working with it or if I'm going to love working with it. And that's a really big thing to consider. And then when it comes to like natural fibers, so you have like your cotton, you have your bamboo, you have your viscose, your rayon, your cotton blends. So far, as far as plant-based fibers go, I have only ever worked with cotton. I'd like to work with bamboo soon. Eventually, I probably will. Another thing to consider is animal-based fibers, so alpaca wool, mohair, cashmere, sheep's wool. I used to know somebody who would make Angora yarn out of Angora rabbit fur. There's a spinners guild here in Alaska, and there's a gentleman who, at least I believe he's in the Matsu Weaver and Spinners Guild, and he spins dog fur into yarn. So there's lots of different, basically any hair. You can spin any hair into yarn, realistically. It just depends on how scratchy it's going to be. As far as like the more traditional definition of wool, you have your sheep, your alpaca. This is a hand spun alpaca yarn from a local spinner here in Alaska. And you can see like it has that hand spun qualities to it. And this is really good for socks, for hats, anything really. It holds in heat really well. I would caution you away from using artificial fibers for things like socks, because you need socks to be breathable, or else you can get certain foot issues with that. Again, there are no rules, and if you're not prone to that, or if you like to wear socks made out of artificial fibers, then go for it. That's, you do you, right? But as for me, I will be sticking to I will be trying to stick to more natural fibers for socks, for gift knits, and that kind of thing. The lovely thing about wool is actually antimicrobial. Wool is, when it's in its fresh, like non-washed, when it's not like fully processed, it can sometimes hold traces of the sheep's lanolin, which is kind of like a natural oil that the sheep produces in its skin. That is an antimicrobial, water-resistant oil that coats the entire sheep's wool. It keeps the sheep warm. It helps keep it warm. That's why when you see those Aran sweaters, they're knit in lamb's wool or unprocessed wool, so that they have that water-resistant quality. Because those sweaters were designed to be worn by fishermen on the Aran Isles. And their specific design, so like the really nice, like, that's why they're called fisherman sweaters, right? The wool that they use is designed to keep them less wet, right? And that keeps them warm. And then the actual cable knitting on those sweaters is actually what helps trap air, hot air. It traps that air and keeps them even warmer. So wool is great for those kinds of things. It's great for winter wear. It's great for sweaters. It's great for hats. Wool is a great fiber. Don't get me wrong. Wool is an amazing fiber, but you don't have to knit everything in wool if you don't want to. I am experimenting with this brand here. It's called Little Lobe. It's Icelandic wool, and it's pure wool, 100% wool. Which is exciting for me. It's gonna be like my first 100% wool project, is a sweater that I'm working on. It comes in all of these lovely colors. They're very rustic colors, right? Like, you'll notice that like acrylic comes in these really, really bright, fun colors, which you can get hand-dyed wool in bright, fun colors, but it's a lot easier to find it in like acrylic and cotton. Whereas with wool and alpaca and those kinds of things, it's kind of unless you go find a hand dyer. They tend to stick to the more rustic natural colors. So it also like go with what fits in your wardrobe. If you see an acrylic yarn you really like, even though you primarily knit in wool, there's no problem with buying that yarn. You can do what you want. You can also get hand-dyed, hand-spun yarns, right? This is knit with a superwash merino that was hand-spun and hand-dyed by Juno Woolies in these natural colors, but she has colors that are based off of the Aurora in beautiful greens and pinks and blues and dark colors, but she also has these beautiful natural colors like this rust orange, this black, this white and gray, and they're beautiful colors either way you look at it. So make sure that the fiber you're choosing is available in the colors you like, because you're not going to wear it if you don't like the colors, right? So there's always that. And then of course you can mix fibers together. This hat was made using this alpaca, right? As well as superwash merino. You can't really see the motif really great, but they're two different fibers. You don't have to stick with the same fiber if you don't want to. Just find fibers that blend and feel good together, right? Like this is still a really soft hat. Because I use two really soft yarns. Don't use a scratchy yarn with a soft yarn. I don't think it'll feel very good. But at the end of the day, I'm not telling you to be a yarn snob. I'm not telling you you can't be a yarn snob. What I'm telling you is that don't worry about what other people think about the fiber you're using, because at the end of the day, it's your craft. You're the one who has to deal with the fact that you made it. And use whatever you feel is important to you. If you don't like acrylic, don't use acrylic. If you don't like wool or you're allergic to wool, don't use wool. If cotton is scratchy on your hands, don't use that brand of cotton. Maybe try a different brand of cotton, but you don't have to use cotton if you don't want to. And I think it's this really big discourse throughout the fiber arts community that you have to use certain fibers to be a good knitter, to be a good crafter. You have to use natural fibers. That's not true. We all started this somewhere, and I guarantee about 90% of the knitters and crafters you know started knitting and crocheting and embroidery and all of that using artificial fiber. There is no shame in using artificial fiber. Artificial fiber has its uses. So does natural fiber. There are plenty of people who started and have only ever used natural fiber for their own reasons, and that's okay too. So what I'm really trying to say is don't judge people for their yarn choices. Just say, hey, that's not the yarn for me, and move on. And don't let your yarn choice limit you in your choice of pattern. You can knit plenty of beautiful colorwork sweaters in acrylic. You can knit plenty of very useful pot holders and things in wool and cotton, and vice versa. Just don't do something that's going to get you hurt is my biggest caution. Don't use fibers that you're allergic to. Don't use fibers that feel bad against your skin. Don't use artificial fibers for things that require heat. That is my biggest caution. The last thing I want is for anyone to melt an acrylic pot holder to their hand. And nobody wants that. It's not gonna be good. Nobody likes that idea. So yeah, really just use the fiber you want to use. Just make sure you're using it in a safe and healthy way. So with that, I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. And let me know what you think about your favorite fiber, and if you have any suggestions for brands, drop it down in the comments below. I'm definitely looking for new brands of yarn because 90% of my yarn is like this. It's from the thrift store. I don't even know what this is. I'm pretty sure it's a t-shirt yarn. It's like this yeah, it's like a casing, and it's like stuffed. So it's like a t-shirt yarn. I don't know what brand it came from, any of that. I got it at the thrift store like 10 years ago. So if you have any yarn brands that you like to go by, definitely drop it in the comments below. Also, tell me where you guys are buying your yarn. The Joann's up here just closed, so all I have is Michael's and my little yarn store. And I cannot spend little yarn store prices every time I want to make something. And Michael's just doesn't have all of the yarn that I need, right? So drop down your favorite places to buy yarn online, where I can get brands that are common for relatively not as pricey, right? Let's build a resource for everybody. And, you know, like, crafting at sometimes y'all get at each other's throats online, and other times we're this really welcoming community, and I really like to think that we're this welcoming community all of the time. We just have some bad apples. So let's try to show newer crafters that we are this great community, that we care about everyone, and that, you know, it's just a craft. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you enjoyed the video. Thank you for making it this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one.